Well, welcome to hashtag Woman Your Power. It is such an honor to have you on our power session today. I'm going to jump straight into question one and ask you, what do you perceive power to be as a woman?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. I consider power to be freedom as a woman, freedom to be, to do what you want, to make choices that you believe in and you want to carry out and take responsibility for in your life. I think that for many years, the history and culture have always dictated how women and what women should be and carry themselves and all that. We know what the world dictates of a woman to be, but the freedom to choose, to make your own choices, to say that this I agree with and this I do not agree with, I think that is power.
I love that, because if you would believe that's my superpower as well. If anybody asked me that question, I would say that the freedom of choice. And I think the cultural burden, like you mentioned, is so heavy on a woman. And I mean, we can only speak from the Black perspective, but it's that African culture that comes in, and then it's also how the world perceives you to come in. So the freedom to have choice, to say I choose to take on this path, is absolutely powerful. And that brings me now to question two, to say, how have you realized that power of freedom in your own life?
I've realized that through the choices that I make. I've done things that people think that women shouldn't do, or how women should speak, or where women should go. So I studied accounting, trained as an accountant, and I left the accounting field altogether. Didn't have much of a plan when I left, but I discovered myself, and I knew then that I didn't want to be there. And as much as I respect the profession, but I knew that that's not where I belong. And then I left, and I found myself and got involved in public policy, and to have that freedom to make that choice, to say that, okay, you know what, this is what I want to do. And I took that sabbatical, 3 months. I went to Mauritius, Zanzibar, and Senegal. And I considered those three countries were a trip where I wanted to find myself. It was a solo trip. And I had fun most of the time in the beach. I still had to find myself when I came back, because half the time I was in the beach. But having the freedom, and it's okay, it's okay. Sometimes you can just let go. It's okay to say, you know what, I don't know, but I know what I don't want, and I'm going to go find what I want. And that's what I did.
I love that so much, that you said, you mentioned that you went to go find yourself. At that point in time, you might not have known what that was, but you definitely knew it wasn't being stuck in that accounting field. And that brings me to question three for today, which is, how have you managed to share that realized power of freedom with the world?
Yeah, so a couple of years after leaving accounting, well, not a couple of years, but immediately, but a couple of years ago, in 2011, actually, I started an organization called ZAYRAH. And that was to realize the gap on how do we empower young people to be able to have long-lasting, effective change within their society. And policy is one of the way. And so how do we get now young people to engage in a broader scale in policy level with their government, and not just to scream on the other side of the fence to say, I want, but how do you now use the ways, processes, and procedures that are in place to demand what you want? And therefore, I saw that gap, and we started an organization where we trained young people on policies that affect them and how to best advocate and engage their government using those policies. And we did interesting work. In Kenya, we were able to engage them, the government there, on their national youth policy. In South Africa as well, we've taken part in those dialogues in the national youth policy of South Africa, the African Youth Charter of the African Union, and some of the work that we're able to engage on a broader scale across the African continent.
That is absolutely incredible. like talk about sharing that power of freedom and translating it in a way that, you know, that is captive and that helps other people, not only just in your immediate community, but in Africa as a whole. And I want to applaud you, and I want to thank you for taking that bold step of courage and saying, this is the path I choose and this is how I'm going to live my life. Well, the very last thing I have to say to you in this session is, woman, you are power.
Thank you very much.